everyone, Cassius here, and welcome back to the Villains Countdown. Today, we start in on the top 20 with villain number 20, the Duke of Buckingham from Richard III. The Duke of Buckingham is a fun character. He's the only sidekick who makes it onto this list. And by sidekick, I mean the person who isn't perpetrating the villainy, for their own sake, but rather for someone else's. And it sometimes is hard to tell in Shakespeare who's a sidekick and who isn't. He doesn't write characters with the same kind of tropes that we have today. So while obviously we take a lot of tropes from him, the idea of the sidekick is not as concrete. But I think of Buckingham as a sidekick because he's not the one who is the political maneuverer. Obviously, it is Richard III. But the Duke of Buckingham distinguishes himself in how powerful he is. He has a lot of presence of mind. So unlike someone such as a Roderigo from Othello, who is clearly just being used and abused by the main villain, the Duke of Buckingham certainly knows better. He knows what he's doing, and he has a lot of presence of mind. He is a savvy political player trying to improve his own station by way of picking the right horse, by way of riding someone else's coattails into a good, cushy position. So the Duke of Buckingham is introduced at the beginning of this play, which is an incredibly complex setup, actually, because it comes right after the Henry VI plays. So while it is a play that's very popular in its own right, it actually kicks off in a kind of complex world. We've got the Lancasters, we have the Yorks. They've been at war, but the Lancasters are done now. They're gone, and now the Yorks are hanging together, or seemingly hanging together, to start this new dynasty. But it's not working out so hot because everyone's still freaking out and there are still Lancasters around, such as Queen Margaret. Queen Margaret, being of the side that lost, she perceives that everyone who is in power now has wronged her, and she specifically goes around telling everybody, you've all wronged me, and then she goes to the Duke of Buckingham and says, but not you. Not you. You stayed out of it. You'd never wronged me, so I'm going to tell you don't fall in with Richard. At which point the Duke of Buckingham seals his fate by basically telling her, no, I'm going to listen to him and I'm not going to listen to you. So this is someone who stayed out, very shrewdly waited to see who was going to win. Threw in with the side that did win, and decided to throw in with the Duke of Gloucester, who was clearly this big political player. He had a lot of friends, he had a lot of enemies, but he was clearly someone to watch, and the Duke of Buckingham decided to throw in with him, and watched as Richard eliminated person after person and helped him out, helped him gain the throne by using slander against Edward IV, slander against Edward IV's children, saying that they were bastards and thus not of the right lineage to inherit the throne. He's using this intense political propaganda machine to get this horrible murderer to the throne, and because of that, and because he is such a player in his own right, I believe that he certainly deserves to be a villain. Now, he does get cold feet at some of the things that Richard asks him to do, but he is comfortable with a fair bit of it. When Richard decides to actually go before the people and make his case to be king, it's Buckingham here who actually sets them up for his success.
Richard is not King Edward. He is not lulling on a lewd love-bed, but meditating with two deep divines, praying to enrich his watchful soul. Happy were England would this virtuous man take on his grace the sovereignty thereof.
God defend Richard should say no to us.
I fear he will.
And while Buckingham does draw the line at child murder, or at least wants to think about it a little bit before he does it. It's good that child murder is something you have to think about, right?
Buckingham, you never used to be so dull. Shall I do plan? I wish the bastards dead, and I would have it suddenly performed. What say you now? Speak suddenly. Be brief.
Your Majesty may do your pleasure.
Tut. You are all ice. Your kindness freezes. Say, have I your consent that they shall die?
Give me some little breath. Some pause, Your Majesty, before I positively speak in this.
And just sort of thinking about him in that way kind of drove home to me that this is one bad guy. The fact that he has to think about child murder, while it is pulling back for him, I think that kind of just sort of proves the point. He could be worse, is the best thing you can say about villain number 20, the Duke of Buckingham, whose backroom machinations plant one crazy tyrant on the throne. His motivation? He wants to pick the right horse and he wants to keep his head. Good luck with that in a play like Richard III. Till tomorrow, I'm Cassius. Think of the world.
Now, princely Buckingham, make me happy in this unity.
Whenever Buckingham does turn his hate upon your majesty, God punish me with hate from those where I expect most love.